hear from you. Go.
Okay, first thing.
Is that a real diamond?
Yes, it's real. I don't wear nothing fake. Nothing's about the doctor's fake. Get that straight. Right here, right up front. I'm not fake.
Go ahead, pal. Tell me what you're going to tell me.
My diamonds are not fake.
Tell me what you're going to tell me.
Hey, this guy here, Wilson. First thing, I never heard of you, never heard your name before you went on some news show and come out saying that wrestling's fake and all this and that somebody wanted to make love to you or some man or something. Well, see, I've never had that problem. You say it goes on everywhere. I've never had that problem with a man. Man never come up and ask me nothing because I had plenty of women. Now, I've been in wrestling 15 years. No promoter ever made love to me or tried to make love to me or asked me for sexual favors. I think you're a liar. I think you're a liar and you want publicity. That's all you want. I don't think you can play football. I don't think you can wrestle. I don't even think you should be out here. I think you're just somebody that wanted to come up here and say, I'm a professional wrestler. There's 1,000 people out here, 100,000 people who want to get in the limelight. And you say, you come out and say, first thing I want to know, what gives you the right to even be out here? Have you ever beat anybody? Have you ever
go ahead, answer.
I don't even know.
Answer, man. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, number one, because of my sexual persuasion, and
gay?
the fact that I didn't want to participate.
But he's been in the business 15 years and that never happened to him. How come it happened to you?
Hey, maybe he didn't like him.
And he's not
maybe
any
the
prettier
promoter
than
didn't
you
like
are.
him.
Huh?
I guess the promoter didn't like him that way.
Did he like you?
He must have.
Did you kiss him?
Did you ever wrestle? Did you ever wrestle?
Did I what?
Did you wrestle, Jim?
Of course I wrestled.
Did you win anything?
I've wrestled and I've been in the business since 1968.
How many matches have you had?
Couple thousand.
Couple thousand? Dr. D, sounds like...
I've never heard of him.
You never heard of him?
I've never heard of him before he went on the news show running his mouth.
I wrestle under my own name.
All right, let me ask you then. Anyone who watches wrestling knows that with, two big guys colliding in the ring, they can hurt each other. But you say that a promoter forced you to hurt yourself in the ring with a blade job. Now, what is a blade job?
Well, it's not a matter...
I'm glad it said blade because after your first thing, I was, kind of a job it was.
I was told that when I was in Australia, I was overseas, and because I wouldn't go to bed with this guy...
Again? Another guy?
That was the first time.
Okay.
The first and only time. He told his booker to make me
What'd you
start
say,
losing
hooker?
matches.
Did he say hooker?
And
Did he say hooker?
I think he said booker, Doc.
Okay, I didn't. I
do you know what a booker is?
What do I know? What a booker is?
Do you know what a booker is?
I know what a booker is. I know what a fool is. I know what a liar is and a goof. And you're a liar and a goof. And I don't think you can wrestle. You never could.
Jim, I still don't know what the blade job is. Tell me what that is.
A blade job is where they want you to bleed.
So you're in the fight,
And I told him I wouldn't do it. And he said, you're not
What are
going
you supposed to do, cut yourself with the blade?
Right, exactly, to produce the blood. And because...
Can't you carry a little capsule and break it if you want?
No, I don't know whether that ever happened or not in the business, but the way they do it now is with a blade.
I think you're a liar on that, too. I've never used what you call a blade or anything else, and I can make you bleed in less than 2 seconds. I'll hit you so hard that...
Dave, let me ask you a question. Doctor, you wrestled. Did you ever have the uncontrollable urge to carve yourself up or to cut yourself or to rip your mouth open, do anything?
No.
Did any promoter ever ask you to do that?
I never had to do that.
No promoter ever asked you to do that?
No promoter ever asked me to do that.
Then why is Jim Wilson the only guy that this has ever happened?
Okay, he's the only guy. No, there's another one, too, a little goof by the name of... In my opinion, you and him probably made love together and come on the show and try to destroy the business because you're not a man. You never have been a man. You never will be a man. Your whole life is ruined, boy. You ought to go out here somewhere on the West Coast. I won't mention the city, but you can go out there and hold hands with whoever you want to. But you climb in the ring, a professional wrestling ring, they'll tie your head up and stick it up your behind and send you on your way.
Let me see. Sir, your name?
My name's Dennis Carluzzo, and I'm a promoter.
All right.
And I want to say one thing. For years, wrestling has had that stigma about it with this guy's crying, but it's going to stop you people from going? No. So what are you trying to prove? Here, another thing, let me explain something about this guy's background. You want to expose the business a little bit? Let's talk a term about you. You were nothing but a bottom-of-the-card jobber. You had excuses for not making it in the NFL. You had excuses for not making it in pro wrestling. And you're going to have more excuses when this falls on your face. What are you trying to prove? You're coming out here going on circuit, huh?
Well, wait a second. Wait a second. On this show, Jim's damn well entitled to say what he's trying to prove. Go ahead.
Well, everybody has an opinion, obviously, and these gentlemen have theirs. This is America.
Well, I know all that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, let me ask
That's
you
fine.
something. If I could arrange a match between you two guys, would that be all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Would you take him on?
I'll put up the money.
You'll put up the money?
Anytime, anytime.
No, right now.
Right
Yeah,
now.
right now. Right now it's fine.
Hey, Mark.
Rummy, I want to go to Paul Dangerously on the telephone. Paul, can you hear me, buddy?
Yes, I can, Mort.
Paul, let me ask you a question. You've been listening to this stuff.
Yes, I have.
All right? You listened to Jim Wilson's life story. What do you make of his statement that he was basically blackballed from wrestling?
Jim Wilson was blackballed from wrestling, and that is the truth, and I'll tell you why right now. Because he was such a loser, he never drew a dime in his life, and nobody ever wanted to pay to see him. The fact is, Mort, that the wrestling business is exactly like television. If you don't produce ratings, I don't care how good looking you are, I don't care how many cigarettes you smoke, I don't care what producers you sleep with, you're off the air. Jim
Walk
Wilson
easy,
could have
Paul.
slept with everybody. He never drew a dime, and they said, get out of the business, you're a loser.
How much money did you make in wrestling? How much money did you make in wrestling, Jim?
I didn't make a lot of money, though.
You said you've had a couple thousand matches.
Yeah, the best trip that I had was to Australia for $800 a week back in 1973.
$800 a week in Australia?
Right, and they cut that, like I say, when I wouldn't go to bed with the promoter, they
How
wanted...
come I have never, Jim, look at baby, I got to tell you, pal, you are not that sexually attractive, even...
That's right.
Why is
That's
someone
right.
I want to go to bed with?
Hey, like I say, I don't know what turns those people on, you know, those people of that persuasion.
I'll tell you what, next we're going to meet the world's strangest man. I think I'll let this man say any damn thing he wants. Stand by.
Ted is all business on that bench. And watch this. He has done it again. This is truly one of the most electrifying moments in the history of powerlifting. Ted Arshidi has just lifted 705 pounds on the bench.
Let's find out about racism and all these other things that we hear about in professional wrestling. Let me introduce you to a gentleman by the name of Claude Thunderbolt Patterson, former pro wrestler. Thunderbolt, how you doing, pal?
Very good, and you?
I'm all right. You think you had a talent to be the world champion, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What kept you from reaching the top of the wrestling game?
Well, the promoters. Just that simple.
Why? Well, what they do to
just
you?
promoters. I mean, as a black individual, you are limited. Just that simple.
As a black individual, you're limited.
In
You
wrestling.
wrestled in the 60s and 70s.
60s, 70s, and 80s.
Okay, in the 60s and 70s, I understand you made, from a quote in one of the magazines, you made $50,000 to $100,000 a year.
Well, they quoted me as making $225,000 a year.
225. Did you make that much?
No,
Yeah, how much did you really make?
I made 100.
Made $100,000. Let me see. If my memory supports me right, that would be the days of Argentine Rocca, Buddy Rogers.
That's a little bit before. That was a little bit before my time.
Well, that was a little bit before your
Yeah,
time.
right.
Seems to me anyone making $100,000 in 1960s wasn't really discriminated against.
Well, I mean, it's a matter of opinion. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, everything's a matter of opinion.
well,
pal.
you know, like my whole thing is that I drew money all over the country.
I mean, people came to see you.
Yes, I worked in a lot of the different places around the country,
Yeah.
and I drew money. And I just wanted the same chance that the rest of them was getting.
Me, anyone making $100,000 in 1960s wasn't really discriminated against.
Well, I mean, it's a matter of opinion. You know what I mean? Like,
well, everything's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, well,
pal.
you know, like my whole thing is that I drew money all over the country.
I mean, people came to see you.
Yes, I worked in a lot of the different places around the country,
Yeah.
and I drew money. And I just wanted the same chance that the rest of them was getting, something that I didn't
Hey, Dr. D.
You had more than
Dr.
a
D.
chance, man. I'm
That's
from
your
the South.
opinion.
Yeah, my
That's your
opinion. I
opinion.
was
You was
there,
the
buddy.
individual.
Atlanta, Georgia. You was on
was
top.
the
I was
individual.
the first match, buddy.
That's
the
right.
first match. Making
You was the
50 bucks a
individual
damn
that came
night.
along that didn't know.
You didn't show up. You walked out.
When you came
You
along,
walked out.
you
didn't
know
show
how
up
to
for the
put
match.
your boots on,
You
my
did
man.
not show up for the match. You walked out.
I walked out because I was mistreated just like all the
and
rest
just
of them.
because you're black, you think somebody should kneel
That's
down
your
to
problem.
you? No, they ain't gonna
You
do that.
went on, you was able to...
Sour grapes, that's all I had. Sour grapes.
Yeah, my opinion. You're the one.
What you have here? Now what you have here is, I was the individual. I was all over the country. I drew money. Yes, I walked out.
Why did you draw money?
Wait a minute.
No, I ain't waiting a minute. No, you drew
all
money
over the
because they
places.
give you the
I
top
walked
spot.
out
They give you
because
a
of
push.
individuals
They give you
just
the chance
like
to be
you.
world champion, and you blew
Individuals
it,
just
buddy. You blew
like
it.
you.
Terry Funk
got
beat you in
individuals
Atlanta, Georgia, right in the
just
middle of
like
the ring,
him
and then you
that
walked
take
out. You didn't
on
want
the
nothing to do with
company's
it.
side.
Just because you're black, you think somebody owes you something. Nobody owes you nothing.
Don't nobody owe me nothing. All I need is a chance, and I would have got it myself.
Well, why didn't you do it?
Because of an individual just like you.
I was on the first match that night, baby, Atlanta, Georgia, 1978. And you walked out. You didn't show up.
Why
Jim
did I walk
Barnett
out?
was a
All right,
promoter. You walked out because you wanted to hold him up for more money.
Oh, you was a liar. I didn't want to.
No, you're the liar.
He's a
You're a
liar.
liar. You've been a liar ever since I knowed you.
Just a second, let me hear from him. Why did you walk out? Why did you walk out?
Can I say one thing before
tell
I
me
say?
why you walked
I
out.
walked out because my money wasn't right and they wasn't treating me
Whoa,
right. Now you got an
you're
individual here.
right, huh?
He just told you that it was his first match in the town. Now how in the hell did he know so much about it?
I kept going, baby.
Because
I kept
he
going.
was-
I worked the first match, and then I was up on top. You
The
wasn't
guy's
nowhere
been in
to
the
be seen.
business
No,
for
I
long.
beat your butt.
The guy
just
paid
like
his
that.
dues. He paid his dues.
What you say?
He paid his dues.
That's
Let me
right.
ask-
I climbed the ladder, baby. I
What kind
climbed
of dues he just told you? He was working for $50, $75 every night.
$15.
Why didn't you stay
$10.
cool? Why
No
didn't you
money.
I worked for $5.
I worked for nothing.
But I went to the top. I was 18 titles, baby.
You have.
Let me introduce you to the world's strongest man, all right? Sit on a seat. World's champion, baby. And as the critics will say tomorrow when they saw him carrying in a 180-pound load of Okay, I'm sure we'll beep that out for you folks. Ted, let me ask you a question. You've competed at the highest levels, all right, of bodybuilding and now wrestling. Have you encountered a prejudice against performers because of the color of their skin? And have you been alert to see if that prejudice is out there? Because there is prejudice.
Okay, I'm college educated. All right, let me just drop a few names. Prejudice, no, it's a cop-out, okay? Anybody heard of Tony Atlas? Yeah. All right. Anybody ever heard of S.D. Jones? Yeah. Anybody ever heard of Rocky Johnson? Yeah. I think this guy should have paid attention more in school. You would have been in a better business.
Look, Harry, let me explain something to you, muscles.
Oh, okay,
just because you got muscles,
just
you
'cause
went
I got
over into the
muscles.
professional, and I mean, that ain't the whole thing.
Okay,
you got
what's
to know
the
how
whole
to
thing?
wrestle a little
What's the
bit.
whole thing?
And you got to know how to draw a little money. You called Tony
That's right, I
Adams,
drew him
you
out.
called S.D. Jones,
Right.
you called individual, just like we have in the country today, that go along with any damn thing that go on.
Yeah, but they had the WWF titles. They had the WWF World titles.
They go along with anything that
They
goes.
was the WWF World Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, both of them, buddy.
about champions.
You didn't make it, they
Had a
did.
chance just like you. They started working out $50 a night.
I gave away more than Listen to this. Listen to what I'm going to say. I gave away more belts than both of you fellas probably ever had.
You are a liar.
You are
First time I've ever heard it. 18
You are a liar yourself, man, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
You gave away 18. You ain't never gave nothing away. You'll never give nothing away. First place, you ain't never had nothing to give away.
On the count of individuals just like you. Every system.
Up here, baby. Come on up here. Come on up here. Come on here. Come here. To the microphone. To the microphone.
Just a minute, Bob.
Right here.
Just a minute.
Shut up.
Let me say something here. I was in a preliminary match in Greenville, South Carolina, when this man was on top, and he wouldn't even talk to me and the captain. He was a hot shot main event guy. Me and the captain got 6 bits. If you don't understand 6 bits, that's $75. And that's what we got. And Thunderbolt Patterson was the main event guy. Come in 10 minutes before showtime.
Exactly.
And he looked at the preliminary boys, and he said, are they working here tonight? Are they working here tonight? I said, yes, sir. How are you? I shook his hand. I didn't care if he was black, green, yellow, orange, or whatever color he might be. But I had a tough time, and I was happy that Thunderbolt shook hands with me. I was happy when you shook hands with me. I was glad. And your damn color didn't mean a damn thing. You are a very, let's shake hands again.
And me and the captain,
let's shake hands again. All right. Because there's a whole lot of individuals. And this guy that pretend. When Schultz told you the same story. That pretend. That's it. That they are not prejudiced. Gorgeous George walked out the dressing room. I spent 20 years. Rugs down. I spent 20 years in professional wrestling. No kidding. I spent 28. Well, yeah, you spent 8 more than I did. Yeah, you started. You started. It was a preliminary, boy, when you came in. Well, it's a whole lot of folks that I didn't talk to. You have. That's right. There's no way.
Stepping into the ring, Cyndi Lauper's favorite in wrestling today, Captain Lou Albano.
Transportation for the Morton Downey Jr. Show, furnished by Redwood Limousine. When in New York, call 212-226-7665.
All right. A new edition. Shut up! Zip it! A new edition on home base, all right? Connected with wrestling like nobody else has ever been. Wrestling's ambassador. He served as a pro wrestler, a promoter, manager, a movie star. I mean, you go on it. He's got it all. Lou Albano, the captain. Lou, you've been listening to everything that's been going on in the show. Mr. Wilson here was just applauding you. It means even he has respect
well, I'm not
for you,
for
right?
his applause. I'm not even looking for. I want to say something more.
No, let me ask you something, all right? You identify with professional wrestling as much as anybody in America has been.
1953.
Does the discussion we've been having tonight bear any resemblance to the wrestling that you've known?
Let me tell you something, Mort. The discussion that's going on here tonight is utterly ridiculous. I've been involved in wrestling since 1953. And I'll admit that today there's a little bit getting away from the wrestling, a little bit of showmanship and so forth, but to me, they're still the world's greatest athletes. When a guy comes out here like this half-wit, and a guy like that moaning about black, I started in with Bobo Brazil, with Bearcat Wright, with Black Boy Sweet Daddy Siki, and they made something. And let me tell you something. Yeah, go ahead.
But look here, you started in with every one of them individuals. You stayed around. Each one of them individuals had to pack their suitcase and leave, but you stayed there and made the money.
That's not true. Bearcat Wright wrestled.
You just talking a lot of stuff, man.
He died. Bearcat Wright died and passed away.
He died because he couldn't get a job.
Bobo Brazil was used by
couldn't get a job, couldn't get booked nowhere.
Years ago.
Matter of fact, couldn't get
just a minute, wait a minute, wait there. Wait a minute. What? Let me answer the question.
I want to hear
All right, I'm on the board. Just a minute. Bobo Brazil wrestled right here in the Meadowlands in the Old Timers Day a few years ago. Wrestling was good to Bobo. He was one of the favorite guys of Willie Gilzenberg and Vince McMahon. And as far as this half-wit, talking about blades. My wife was sitting out there and I've been married to her for 34 years. If I were to use an object to cut my face, she'd divorce me tomorrow. Let me tell you this. Anytime I wrestle...
You sure as hell wouldn't want that pretty face.
Well, you ain't kidding. No. Now, anytime... All right. Anytime I wrestle...
I drew money. And I just wanted the same chance that the rest of them was getting.
Just a minute. Bobo Brazil wrestled right here in the Meadowlands in the Old Timers Day a few years ago. Wrestling was good to Bobo. He was one of the favorite guys of Willie Gilzenberg and Vince McMahon. And as far as this half-wit talking about blades, my wife was sitting out there and I've been married to her for 34 years. If I were to use an object to cut my face, she'd divorce me tomorrow. Let me tell you this. Anytime I wrestle...
You sure as hell wouldn't want that pretty face.
Well, you ain't kidding. No. Now, anytime... All right. Anytime I wrestled and I got beat, I was beat by a better man. I'll tell you that now. And anytime I got bleeding or blood, it was when I was in a steel cage match and they took my fat face and ran it up against a 12-foot steel cage. That's how I got this. That's how I got that. Not from using nothing. So this man's a liar, and I don't believe
it. Let me see. Wait a second. Jim, you have been ominously silent through all of this, all right?
I haven't been ominously silent. I've just been listening to everybody. The thing about it, and I was applauding Lou and
I don't want your applause.
I don't want to hear that. I want to hear what you got to say.
No, that's fine. What we're talking about is the money in the business, Mort.
That's right. You couldn't draw flies, brother.
That's right. Testify, brother. He can't draw flies if you give him...
You want to know something, Mort? I was in the business. I wrestled. David, I wrestled for 20 years. I never made no big money because I wasn't that good a wrestler. Then I got in and started managing, and I was manager of 17 tag team champions, 2 in the Continental and 1 world champion. I didn't make money at that. But as a wrestler, I was still Lou Albano. I wasn't capable of drawing money. I never made the money of the legendary Bruno Sammartino and wrestlers like that.
Jim.
What are you talking about, money?
Jim's got something on his lap here. No, don't read the whole damn thing to me. What is it?
No, what I was getting to more was the money in the business. And the proportionate amount of money that trickles down to the performers is nowhere commensurate to what all of us have been put into.
A handout? Is that what you want, a handout?
Nobody wants a handout.
You want a handout. You want a handout because you
airfare, meals, and hotel.
David, we'll admit, we want promoters. We admit the promoters. We want to call them more angels, Mort. We'd like the boys to have hospitalization. We'd like to benefit things and all. But there's money out there to be made. If a guy's a good athlete, if he can do it right, he can draw money. There were wrestlers like, again, I mentioned the name of Bruno Sammartino. They got right out there and now they didn't like him. Why? Because he was Italian. He drew money, yet I was Italian. I didn't draw no money. As a wrestler, as a manager, I did my share.
All right,
so
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Lou,
all right.
Let me ask Lou a question.
Go ahead.
Let's ask the question, all right, that every American who's seen wrestling matches asks.
Go ahead.
Do you guys know who's going to win before the match starts?
Well, I can tell you right now, I made the statement before. Every time I got beat by a better man. I don't know what goes on throughout the entire world of wrestling, I can't say, but what I will say, they're overmatched. You never see a Hulk Hogan up against a Ric Flair. You never see a Bruno Sammartino against a Hulk Hogan. They know now probably David Schultz can whip my tail, so if I go in with David Schultz, he'll just beat me when he can. I don't know of any pre-arrangement. No one ever came to me and said...
Are they sure that Dr. D could whip Jim?
Yes, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Huh? I'm sure if I were
I don't think Jim Wilson's sure.
Promoter, I wouldn't have to tell Jim Wilson to lose, because when Dr. D was ready to beat him, he'd whip him within an inch of his life.
That's right, and I can do it now.
I'm sure.
I'll do it right here in front of everybody.
That's the wife right there.
Let me go to a lady who's a hell of a lot prettier than you are.
Right?
This is Lou Albano. You want to say something?
4 grandchildren, 1 out of 1.
I guess I can be as good as witness as anyone else. Lou came home pretty battered a lot of times, and it was for real from what I could see. He's had broken back,
there you go.
broken wrists.
Look at the nose.
His nose has been broken so many times.
Tell me that's a fake.
How many stitches have you had?
Over 700 stitches and plastic surgery done, and here's my nose, no bone, my back 3 times, my hand's broken. And let me tell you something, this guy's trying to knock wrestling, but people are still calling. Because I got to, wait a minute, boy.
And that was from promoting.
All right, now listen to this. I've got a number right now, 1-900-909 for Lou, and over 125 to 150,000 people a month call me on my line. And David Fernoli right there is the coordinator of that show. On WrestleMania Day, 278,000 people called the line. So the interest is there, and half-foot morons like this, with the brain of a dehydrated BB, if they put his picture in a parakeet like that, are not good enough to win.
Let me go to Jim for a second, because he's called wrestling a soap opera for stuntmen. Did the promoters tell you when to lose or win?
Let me just...
Did they tell you when to lose or win?
Let me quote Vince McMahon, okay? Both of these gentlemen, I believe, have worked for Vince McMahon. Is
yes,
that right?
I have worked for
Okay,
him.
great. All right, good.
That's right. You wasn't good enough.
Fine.
Thank you.
If they really... They wanted to ask him...
Give it to me fast, baby. It's only
the
an hour.
matches were predetermined, I'm going to try to read you a quote.
All right.
By the Associated Press that Vince McMahon gave to the Associated Press, okay?
Supposedly.
Supposedly, it's right here.
You believe everything you see him reading?
If they really did the things it looks like they're doing to each other, there would be a lot of dead wrestlers, McMahon told the Associated Press. Okay? Look.
Now answer my question. Did they ever ask you to win or lose a match?
Yes, every night.
Every night.
Absolutely.
Who asked you to do that? Who asked you to do that? Who asked you?
That's why they never saw him around.
Who asked you to do it?
There were two Vince McMahons. Which one?
Which one are you talking about?
Which one are you talking about?
Yes.
Junior?
No, that's a lie. You're a liar. Wait a minute.
You're a liar.
I am not a personal friend of Vince McMahon Jr. I worked for his dad for 35 years, the greatest promoter in the world I ever knew. But Vince McMahon Jr. and I had our differences. But I do not believe that he meant that statement the way he's talking about it. He's saying there is a certain amount of showmanship in professional wrestling, which we don't deny. But he means that some of the things that happen in there, at times, a man is not out to kill. He wants to win, but he doesn't try to kill his opponent. But yet sometimes they get carried away. And what McMahon was trying to stress, that it is the top athletes in the world today, and one of the greatest athletes that ever lived, professional wrestling. So don't ever believe this man right here, because he's a liar. He's not one of them.
He's not one of them.
We're going to come back in just a minute. We're going to come back and we're going to look into the deep heart and soul of wrestling, my friends. We're going to talk to one of the great teachers. Stand by. Let me introduce, all right now. Let me introduce a loudmouth number 2, pretty boy Larry Sharp. He's the owner of the Monster Factory, where some of the best wrestlers are trained. Let me come back to Jim for just a second. You claim that the kingpins of wrestling, like Vince McMahon and TV tycoon Ted Turner, all right, effectively blackball wrestlers who don't play by their rules.
Not true.
Did they throw you out of the ring?
Did they what?
Throw you out of the ring?
In essence, they did. They kept us out of the ring. And what they did, Mort, in 1974, and T-Bolt and I were together doing this, trying to elevate the position of the performers, number one, which is the bottom line of everything we're talking about.
How, Jim?
Money and benefits. A shared equity in the billion-dollar-a-year pie that is not being distributed equitably.
You want somebody to give you something for nothing again.
No, we don't want to.
How'd you want to share it? By setting up a union?
Wait a minute. Well, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have benefits for the boys and stuff like that, but you're not going to go about it the way you're talking about. There's money to be made out there. Maybe they can turn around and take $10 out of each boy's pay as he wrestles and have the promoter match that, sit down at the bargaining table with the promoter, and maybe there would be benefits for the boys.
No, the better idea...
How come they threw him out? I can say that to a promoter. How come he can't?
The better idea is because we are putting our bodies on the line
every night. Whoa. You ain't put your body nowhere.
I've been putting my body on the line.
You're crying, man. You ain't never done nothing to nobody. This guy's crying. Let me tell you, I went to the top in every league, AWA, NWA, WWF. I've been there. I made the money, and I was kicked out. But you don't hear me out here crying about it. I didn't need no benefits.
You're right.
I had money. I could buy what I wanted because I was good. I produced, and I did it. And I ain't crying about it. You're the one crying about it.
Anyone out here...
You're a piece of shit. That's what you are. You're a piece of shit. And I ain't going to hit you because you're going to sue me. That's all you are.
All right, doctor. Sit down.
You're a piece of garbage.
All right, doctor. All right, doctor. Sit down.
Well, I wish you'd get up.
All right, doctor. Sit down.
I wish you'd get up. I'll pull your eyeballs out.
All right, doctor. Sit down.
You hear me?
Wait a second. I want to come down here.
Okay, doctor.
Pretty boy. Pretty boy, now. This is the guy who's trained more wrestlers, all right? More champions in your Monster Factory is what he says. Hey, Doc, look down here a second. I need you, pal. Hey, Doc, come here a second now.
Shut up. I ain't
right.
your brother.
I
Don't
wanna
call
ask
me
you something.
brother. I'm not a brother of yours.
Indeed.
Doctor, go ahead.
Indeed, is what he says about McMahon and these other guys, the promoters, screwing around with these guys, is this true?
Let me tell you something.
If there was... Shut up. I ain't your brother. Don't call me brother. I'm not a brother of yours.
Indeed.
Doctor, go ahead.
Indeed, is what he says about McMahon and these other guys, the promoters, screwing around with these guys, is this true?
Let me tell you something. If there was a union in professional wrestling where a guy had to get up and show some wrestling holds, guys like him would never get in wrestling in the first place. Guys like this guy right here wouldn't get in wrestling in the first place. Because I'm going to tell you why right now. Schultz was in Atlanta. 1975, 1976, I was in Charlotte. You were on top. I was training Tony Atlas. His first week in wrestling, he made $900. I made $4. He got pushed because he was black. You got pushed because you were black, and I was a better wrestler than you, which is reverse discrimination, and I didn't get the job because you were black.
The incident that he was talking about Tony Atlas, the reason Tony Atlas made that money, it was because Tony Atlas was their boy.
Was their boy? Is he telling the truth? Come on, is he telling the truth?
He was a talented athlete. He was a professional bodybuilder, and he wrestled.
He was a professional bodybuilder.
And I trained him. I know
Are you trying to tell me? Wait a second. Are you trying to tell me that every black man who makes it because he kisses the white man's?
That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you, but it's a lie.
Let me give you some facts about that. I got the largest wrestling school in the world. David Schultz has got a school, and he can tell you, I get 1%. That's one black man out of 100 tries out to be a professional wrestler. Maybe if they had a little bit more guts and intestinal fortitude, they would come down and try out.
Wait a second. Is the reason that they don't try out because they know they're not going to get a fair shake?
They'll get a fair shake in professional wrestling as they will in any other big business or in any other sport. This guy's crying just like when down in Texas, when Tony Dorsett signed for the biggest contract in the world, Herschel Walker comes in, gets more money. Now Dorsett's crying. If he didn't like what he was getting, he shouldn't have took it with or without the other guy. That's a bunch of baloney.
Can I say something? Go ahead. No. How about all these guys who are trying out professional football? Spring training, they get cut. You hear them crying?
Jim and I, we're here. We're out of place.
Yeah, you're right. You're out of place. You're right. You're out of place. You're out of place. I was watching basketball the other night. I didn't see a white man on the court. You don't see me out there hollering president. You don't hear me doing it.
Let me finish saying what I'm saying. Because you got this. I'm going to say this here regardless. It's just like Jesse Jackson.
Hey, wait a second. We're not going to turn this into a racial circus just because he wants to.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's not because I want to. I'm telling you the facts. I'm telling you what happened down the whole line. And when you got individuals like this here, wrestling is a white man's business.
Hold. Let me say one thing.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Why don't you tell them about 1970s? Why don't you tell them about when you come out on an interview and you're talking about God was going to the ring with you every night? Why don't you tell them about talking about that all the time? No. I got you wanted somebody give you something. You're black. You're black. You don't want to work. You don't want to work. You're just like
Wait a second. Doctor, no way anyone's going to indict all the blacks that they don't want to work. That's bull.
That's bull. You're right. I got a lot of black friends.
Just a minute, David. Just a minute. You got the blacks. You got the Bobo Brazils. You got the Ernie Ladd. You got the blacks that are good, honest, respectable people. But then you got the renegades that try to stop
himself, and that's this guy right here. He's the only one getting indicted, and he's bringing it stuff. I'm telling you, he wasn't worth the job that he had, and he said he worked for $15 a night. He was overpaid.
That's right.
Next, we'll let our audience ask some questions and see if we can pin any of these guys down. Slammer, get out here.
Lou, if wrestling is supposed to be real, why doesn't Las Vegas take action on it?
Why doesn't Los Angeles take action on it?
They did in the Andre fight. Andre Hogan, they did.
There are certain people that take action on it. Certain people call it sports entertainment. Anything you want to say. I say they overmatch, which I do admit to. They overmatch.
Another question. Before every match, it's an exhibition. Why?
You want to call it an exhibition? There are plenty of matches that go in the ring.
Hold on, I got the answer.
I played exhibition basketball. It wasn't fair.
Football, professional exhibition football.
Let me answer the man. Wait a minute.
We'll be back in just a second. Get this camera on. We'll be back in a minute.
Some of the guests of the Morton Downey Jr. Show stay at the Meadowlands Hilton Hotel.
Wait a second, Lou. Wait a second. Let me ask Jim what this picture is here. Hold that picture up. Camera, can you see that? Camera, get that picture. Turn the camera on.
It's him and his mother. He's out of the match.
Got it? All right. Okay, who is it? Jimmy Carter?
That's a picture of the President of the United States of America, okay? He's
the former president.
Right. Reagan's president now.
Former, that's right.
Yeah, go ahead, tell me quick. We don't have much time.
He's got a stranglehold on a guy that I was in the business with the very first time I got in.
So what?
So what I'm trying to say is we are in the process of unmasking the politics of pro wrestling. Yeah, fine.
Hey, wait a second. When I see pictures of Jimmy Carter like that, it makes me wish I was a basketball player so I could have slam dunked them. Doc.
Okay, I just want to. I want to say one thing.
What?
First thing, a while ago, this man said that I was prejudiced. I'm not prejudiced. Right now, I'm a professional bounty hunter. I go and pick up criminals off the street, and they're white. They're white. They're garbage, and I lock them up and I take them to jail just like I do the black man, the Puerto Rican, Chinese, Japanese. I don't care. And they're out here arguing and bitching about somebody kicked them out of the business. I was put under the business. Nobody wants to use me.
You want to wrestle him? 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 Wait a second. You want to wrestle him?
I want him in a match.
Let's get a match. Winner take all. Give the money to you and me. In pro wrestling, we see some of the meanest, nastiest villains around today. You know what? You gotta love them. Doesn't matter whether it's real or fake. At least in the world of wrestling, unlike the world we live in, the bad guys aren't killing anyone. I'll see you, Ken.